There are alternative worlds somewhere that have similar laws of nature, yet the evolution went a different way. Here, mythical places of power, the sources, produce pure energy. Welcome to the world of mysterious creatures. Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a sponsored playthrough of Evolution: Another World. This is a sponsored playthrough, which means I was paid to make this video to show you the game and teach you how it plays for Evolution: Another World's Kickstarter. A link will be provided in the description below. If you're familiar with the previous Evolution games, then you'll see several similarities here, but there's also many differences. One of the big ones is that there is an official solo mode in the box, and that's what I'm going to be teaching and playing today. Another change is that this is a more streamlined and family-friendly version of Evolution. As you're building up your creatures, you can still attack your opponent, but you never kill another player's species. Also, a lot of the rules have been streamlined. You'll see that as we go. Another change is instead of dealing with real-life animals, here we're purely in the world of fantasy. Fantasy creatures from another world that have magical special abilities, like fire breathing or being astral. There are 16 traits in all, and we'll show them all off during this playthrough. As always, I'm going to teach the game as we play, so let's just go ahead and jump right in and get started. Now I've already got the game set up for a solo play. You want to shuffle up the energy deck, and then reveal one energy source. At the bottom, it shows how many energy tokens to add to the source depending on player count. Since we're simulating a two-player game, we're going to add 3 energy tokens to the bottom of the card. Some energy sources also have tokens that you add to the top of the card. These are special bits of energy that only characters with the corresponding trait can access. We then shuffle up our evolution deck. Place one card face down in your tableau. That represents your first starting creature, which has no traits on it yet. You then want to deal yourself a hand of 5 trait cards. You then want to designate an area of the table for your solo opponent, who is the ominous Shade. They also get a starting creature, but they do not get a hand of cards. Anytime they need to play a card, they'll play it directly off the top of the evolution deck. You want to shuffle up their choice card deck and place it nearby, and then give them the first player token. The game comes with 2 handy player aids. Keep those nearby along with the extra energy tokens, sleep tokens, and transmutation tokens. And there you go, you're all ready to begin the game. In order to win the game, we need to transmute 3 of our creatures. In order to transmute a creature, they need to have 4 energy tokens. However, the Shade wins if they transmute just 1 creature. It doesn't seem fair, but we need to transmute 3 before they transmute 1. And because they have the first player marker, they get to go first. Now, the first thing you can do at the beginning of each round is you can discard your entire hand of cards and redraw an equal number of cards. Maybe there's a very specific trait you're looking for that you didn't get. You always have that option to do that one time at the beginning of each round. I think we're happy with our cards, so we're going to skip that step. The Shade's turn is slightly different than a regular player's turn. The first thing they're going to do is look to see if all of their creatures are asleep. If so, then they'll create a new creature. In this case, their one creature is awake, so they won't create a new creature. They then pick one of their creatures to activate, and they pick the one that has the most energy on it. And if there's a tie, they'll choose the leftmost creature. Well, in this case, they only have 1 creature at the beginning of the game, so they're going to activate that one. The Shade is then going to add a trait to their active creature, and to do that, they just draw the top card from the deck. Now, as you can see, each card has 2 traits. There's a face-up trait, and then there's a trait that is sort of upside down in relation to the picture. Normally, the Shade will only attach traits in the face-up direction. There's 2 exceptions to this rule. One is for the trait Metamorphic, and the other is for the trait Caring, which we happen to get here. When either of those 2 traits come up, instead, they'll choose the upside down trait. Keep in mind that species can have any number of traits, but they can only have each trait at most once. If the Shade were to draw a duplicate trait and they couldn't attach it, they would try to attach it to any creature that is adjacent to the right. And if they couldn't attach it there, then they would just discard the trait. But in this case, they can do fire breathing. Now the Shade is going to take an action with their activated creature. The first thing they're always going to try to do is to win the game. They're going to try to transmute their creature. So if this creature had 4 crystals on it, the Shade could transmute it and win the game. Now, of course, we're usually going to be able to skip that step completely. The next thing they're going to do is see if they just added an orange aggressive trait. There's 4 different colors of traits. There's green, purple, blue, and orange. If they just added an orange trait, they are going to attack. And in this case, yes, they just added fire breathing. So what they want to try to do is to immediately attack one of my creatures. Now the Shade will only try to attack if it can be a successful attack. Now in the case of fire breathing, it says the target loses a trait of your choice. If it does, this creature gains an energy from the supply. Well, unfortunately for the Shade, my creature doesn't have any traits, so it can't lose a trait, and if it doesn't lose a trait, then that creature wouldn't get an energy. So in this case, it's going to see that it can't actually attack my creature, and it's not going to attack at all. Now, if I had had multiple creatures that it could target for an attack, it would use this deck to pick which creature to attack. And we'll see that here, I'm sure, in just a little bit. So since the attack would have failed, it's going to move on to its third option, which is to just take an energy from the source. As I said before, there's 2 areas to the source. There's this lower area, which is open to anyone, and then there's this upper area, which can only be accessed by creatures with that particular trait, in this case, Charming. The Shade is always going to take from the bottom if it can, and so it's just going to take that and add it to its energy track. Once it's done that, it ends its turn, and the creature stays awake. And now we get to take our turn. The first thing that we can do on our turn is to create a new creature. To do that, we take one of the cards in our hand and we just flip it over. Now, this is completely optional, but I do think that I would like to do that. The second thing that we can do is we can assign one of these traits to one of our creatures. Again, this is optional and you can only do it one time. Now, since the Shade has immediately gone on the attack with fire breathing, I feel like we need some way to protect our creatures. And we happen to have a few right here. First of all, we have Fireproof, which says when attacked, this creature does not lose traits. Fire breathing is trying to take traits away, but this would completely negate it. We also have Astral here, which says this creature can attack and be attacked only by an astral creature. With this trait, the Shade's creature wouldn't even be able to target us. We could also potentially go on the offensive ourselves with our own fire-breathing creature, which would then cause the Shade to lose the fire-breathing trait altogether. I like the idea of having a ghost creature, so we're going to attach Astral. And now that we've done those 2 optional things, we can now take an action. And in fact, we must. So first, we have to select one of our creatures that's not sleeping. We have 2 awake creatures. I think I want to select our ghost creature here. We then have to take one of 4 actions with that creature. The first thing we could do is transmute the creature if they had 4 energy on them. The second thing we could do is we could attack with the creature. Now, in order to do that, you need to have a trait that has the attack on it, like fire breathing. The third thing we can do is take an energy from the source. And the last thing we could do is just fall asleep. And again, you must do one of those 4 things. In this case, we're just going to take from the source, and that will be our action. Our turn's now over, and we now go back to the Shade. And we're just going to keep going back and forth until all of our creatures are asleep. As soon as all of our creatures are asleep, that ends the round. It doesn't matter what's going on with the Shade's creatures. Once ours are asleep, that will be the end of the round, and then a few things will happen. But for now, it's just the Shade's turn. Okay, the Shade has an awake creature, so it's not going to add a new one. It's just going to add a trait to this one. Okay, it's got long-tailed. Now, some of the traits will behave differently on the Shade's creatures than it would on ours, and long-tailed is one of those traits. There's a nice list of them here in the rule book. So the way long-tailed works is when that creature gains any sort of energy, it can then lose one of its traits in order to gain another. The Shade will only do that if it's not completely full of energy. And now it's going to pick its action, and because it didn't just add an orange trait, instead of attacking, it's going to try to take from the source. And there is an energy here for it to take, so it's going to take that one, and then its long tail is going to activate. Because it gained an energy, it's going to get another one from the supply, and it's going to lose one of its traits. And to determine which one, we're going to use the choice card. So these are the cards we use anytime the Shade needs to make a choice, either which creature to target or which trait to target. So in this case, we're looking for the trait, and it says it's going to take the third from the top. 1, 2, 3. We then go back to the top, and so it's going to discard long-tailed. And that's perfectly allowed. You can discard long-tailed in order to use it. Okay, that's the end of the Shade's turn. It's back to us, and we are in a very worrying situation. They already have 3 energy. Once they get their 4th energy, they can then transmute and win the game. So we need to be able to take some of that energy away. Boy, I'm not sure. We don't really have any way right now to take energy from them. But as long as they can't attack us with fire breathing, then I think we might be okay. Okay, I don't think I'm going to create another creature. I'm going to give this creature Many Eyes. Many Eyes says that if this creature does not fall asleep, then it does not lose traits or energy when it's attacked. That's going to be one way to protect us against fire breathing and maybe even a couple of other attacks. And now, for my action, neither of my creatures can attack or gain any energy from the source. So I'm going to have to put one of them to sleep. And I'm going to put them to sleep for now. And that's it. That was my turn. Turns are extremely fast in this game. So once again, just adding a trait. Got Pestering. So Pestering lets a creature awake another sleeping creature by discarding that trait. Now the Shade will only do that if it's able to wake up one of its friendly creatures. And now we have a case where this creature wants to take a energy from the source, but there's no more left at the bottom, and it doesn't have Charming, so it's not able to take those 2 at the top. So when that happens, it's going to try to attack. It does have fire breathing, but it cannot attack either of our creatures. It would not be successful. Can't target our ghost creature, and because of the Many Eyes, this would not cause it to fall asleep. Therefore, it's not going to lose its traits. So in this case, where the creature can really do nothing, it's just going to pass. And it's not going to sleep. It's just going to stay awake, but it's just not going to do anything on its turn. So now it comes back to us, and I am going to place out Charming. Now keep in mind, I could have placed that on either creature. You can place traits on your sleeping creatures if you want. I decided not to create another creature, and now I'm going to activate this creature, and because they now have Charming, they can now take an energy from this source. Now, they can't actually use the effects of Charming, unfortunately, because the way it works is that when a friendly creature gains an energy from the source, then they would get to take an energy from the supply, as long as they have less than 2. In this case, we're just using Charming in order to access some of that energy that's left on the source. Okay, that was our turn. They're going to get a new trait. Vengeful. So this says after an attack on this creature, the attacker loses a trait of your choice. And once again, they're in the same situation. There's nothing that they can do. They can't attack us. They can't get anything from the source. So they're just going to pass. Back to us. And I think I just want to hold on to my card. So I'm just going to activate this creature and get that last energy. Shade goes and gets fireproof. And now at this point, I'm just going to activate this creature and put them to sleep. And now that both of my creatures are asleep, that's going to immediately end the round. So at the end of the round, a few things happen. The first thing is that we get a new source. So it looks like there's only 2 energy down here, but 3 energy on top that can only be accessed if you have caring. We're then going to remove all the sleeping tokens, pass the first player marker, and then we're going to get some new evolution cards. We're going to get 2 cards, plus an additional card for every one of our creatures that has at least 1 energy on it. So we have 2 of those, 2 more cards. And there we go. We're ready to start playing, and we are first player. Now remember, this is now the beginning of a new round. So if we wanted, we could discard our hand of cards and draw 5 new cards. I actually think we might be okay. I think we're going to keep this hand of cards because we do have this little trait here, lulling, which means we can attack and cause the target to fall asleep. I think I like that idea. We also have caring. And that's a trait that we need in order to access that upper level. I'm wondering if we want to create another creature. Obviously, we're going to need 3 creatures at some point in order to win the game. I kind of like these cards, and I'm not sure I want to use one. We'll pass on creating another creature just yet. Instead, I want to go straight for lulling. Then going to activate this creature, and we are going to perform an attack. Lulling is going to cause the creature to fall asleep, and if they do, you get an energy from the supply. Now this creature has a couple of those green defensive abilities, so we got to check those. Fireproof doesn't apply, but Vengeful says, after an attack on this creature, the attacker loses a trait of your choice. And so in order for the Shade to pick a trait, we use this choice deck. And we're going to lose trait 6 from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many eyes is gone. This only protects us when we are attacked, and so it's not going to keep us from losing a trait this time. Okay, it's the Shade's turn, and all of their creatures are now asleep. So they're going to create a new creature. They're then going to activate that creature and give it a trait. Longtail again. That means they're going to come to the source, grab 1, and they're going to use their Longtail to get another. It's going to cause them to lose Longtail. Man, but that means they have jumped right up and gotten 2 crystals right away, just like that. Oh, and I forgot. When you attack, you have to put that creature to sleep. When you just gain crystals, you don't go to sleep. But when you attack, that creature goes to sleep. So because we attacked with lulling, not only is the Shade creature going to sleep, so are we. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my other creature a ghost. We're going to have dual astral characters now. Now, there's some good and bad there. The good is that we cannot be attacked unless they are also an astral creature, but it also means we cannot attack them back. So hopefully that'll be okay. I'm then going to activate this creature And they're just going to take that last energy from the bottom of the source. This creature activates. Oh, it gets Caring, but remember, Shade will never put Caring on. And so instead, they're going to flip it over. They're going to get Fire Breathing. It took an aggressive trait, so it's going to try to attack, but we're all ghosts over here. There's no one to attack, and there's nothing here for it to take, so it's just going to pass. Now it's our turn, and we're going to attach Caring. Caring says that when this creature gains an energy, it can transfer one energy to a friendly creature once per turn. And now that it has Caring, it can come up here and it can get this energy. Then it's going to use its Caring to transfer one over to that creature. Okay, back to the Shade. Okay, there we go. It can't have Fire Breathing twice, so it would try to give it to a creature to its right. There isn't one there, so it's going to just discard it. And then, as we've established, it has no action it can take, so it'll just pass. Now, I could create a third creature here, but I'm slightly afraid to. I don't want them to be able to attack that creature and get crystals. So I think I'm going to hold off, and I'm just going to do what I've been doing, grab that energy. They're going to add a trait. Ooh, Flying. So a flying creature can only be attacked by another flying creature, but it can attack any creature. That doesn't change any, still can't do anything. We're just going to take that last bit. Okay, getting Fearsome. This says when activated, this creature may suppress one trait of another creature until the end of your turn. Now, Fearsome is particularly scary in the hands of the Shade because a fearsome creature of the Shade will trigger this trait after choosing the target for the attack and suppress all of that target's traits. So that fearsome will allow it to overcome our astral creatures. Unfortunately, our plan of being ghosts has been thwarted by fearsome, so it is going to try to attack. Now, fearsome itself doesn't let it attack, but fire breathing does. And so it needs to pick a target. We just flip a card, and it's going to pick the third one. 1, 2, 3. It's picking this one. It's going to fire breathe, so it's going to pick one of our traits to discard. This says the 5th. Every time the AI needs to make a choice, you need to draw a new card. And that's what I should have done here, rather than using the card that I had previously drawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Caring is gone. And because it took one of our traits away, it gets a crystal. But because it attacked, it goes to sleep. It's our turn, and look at this. This creature is ready to transmute. So let's do it. We clear off everything. We get rid of all the cards, and we place a transmute token. We're 1/3 of the way to victory, and this creature is ready to transmute as well. Unfortunately, it's asleep, so we're going to have to wait for it to wake up. And because of that, all of our creatures are asleep, and so that ends the round immediately. Okay, we got a new source here. 3 energy, and nothing on top. Clear off the sleepness. The Shade, unfortunately, becomes the first player. And we're going to get 2 cards plus 1. 3 cards. Okay, the Shade gets to go. Both of these creatures have the same amount of energy, so they're going to activate the one furthest to the left. That's going to be that guy. They're going to get a trait. Oh no, lulling. Okay, luckily we're okay because our creature is astral and this creature is not fearsome, so they're not going to be able to lull us or fire breathe. That was close, but unfortunately they can just go here to the source and get their 4th crystal. We are definitely in danger of losing here. If we don't do something about this, they're going to win on their next turn. Now, we can lull them. And actually, we can't lull them because we're astral. So because we're astral, we can't attack them with the lulling. So we need to create a new creature that can attack them. Now, we do have this vampire. This says attack, and the target will lose 1 energy. And if it does, then you gain an energy from the supply. I think we might be in trouble here, but let's at least try it. Let's make another creature, and let's make them a vampire. We'll then attack, which means it's going to fall asleep. The target is going to lose 1. And then we're going to gain 1 from the supply. And because of Vengeful, we're going to lose Vampire. But now we have the same problem. They're going to activate. Oh, they're going to get Fearsome. And that's going to cause them to attack. Okay, let's see which creature the Shade is going to target. Okay, number 1, so it's going to target this guy. And it can do so because of Fearsome. Now, it actually has 2 attacks. It has lulling and fire breathing. And when you have multiple attacks, the Shade creatures are going to do it in a very specific way. They're going to first do lulling, then fire breathing, and then they would do vampirism. So lulling is going to put us to sleep. They're then going to get an energy. Okay, and then it's going to do fire breathing. So which trait are we going to lose? Looks like it's the 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to lose Astral, which is actually probably good for us. That may end up helping. Now, they would gain another energy, but they're all filled up, so you just don't get it. And then they would fall asleep because they attacked. That ends their turn, and now all of our characters are asleep, so that's actually going to end the round. Get a new source. Ooh, lots of energy. Remove the sleep. We become first player, and we're going to get 2 plus 2. We're going to get 4 new cards. We have a ton of cards now. And we get to go first, and now that we don't have that astral trait, we can now attack. I think I'm going to keep these cards. We are kind of in a bad spot here. This is going to be a long shot. I think I'm going to attach Toxic here. And then we're then going to use Lulling here. So they're going to go to sleep. We're going to lull them to sleep, which means that this creature is now going to activate. Ooh, they get flying. They already had flying, so they can't get it again. And unfortunately, they're not going to attack us. They're going to take a crystal. I was hoping that they would try to attack us and get hit with Toxic. That did not happen. And so our options are kind of thin right now. There's not really anything that we can really do. We can do Metamorphic. And then we can use Metamorphic as lulling, which means we can lull them to sleep, fall asleep ourselves. That would just end the round. They would become first player and win the game. And so there you go. We got 1 creature transmuted. We had another one ready to go. And we had this tiny, which is what I wanted to give to this creature, where they can transmute with just 3 crystals rather than 4. I was hoping to use that to get a quick transmute there, but these guys, we didn't have enough attacking things on them. They got those energy too fast, and we lost the game. So there you go. That is my sponsored solo playthrough of Evolution: Another World. If that looked fun, you can check out their Kickstarter page. I'll have the link in the description below. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.